of starting this new talk show. I figured I got a lot of friends. I want to see how everybody is doing during these times. So today I figured I start with my top-notch boys from the Uncle Louie variety show. Lou was supposed to be on, but I don't see him in streaming. Let me start with Carlo. Hey, Carlo. What's going on, man?
Hey, Tony, what's going on?
Oh, please. Another day in paradise.
Make sure you're backed up from that microphone. You sound like Rice Krispies over here.
Oh, we got Lou. It keeps disappearing. There he is. Let me see.
There he is.
All right. Here we are. What's going on, boy?
What's up, boy?
Mess.
Huh?
What a mess.
How you guys been?
Oh,
I know
so
we
good.
talk often, but how you feeling during these times?
Caged.
What's that?
Oh, good.
Caged.
Caged, huh? How about you, Lou?
I feel okay. I feel good. I've been able to work out and, the first month was horrible because all I did was eat and drink. And I think that's what everybody did. So, and try to figure out what's going on. Huh?
I see
We're
you.
doing still, right?
Let me see. I see you're growing a goatee right now.
Yeah, it's all white. It's because of this coronavirus.
That's what it is.
It was dark before, and after this month of being in the house, it turned white, pure white. I don't go to gray, I go to white.
So let me ask you guys. I know you guys inside and out as well. You guys know me, but let me start with Carlo. Carlo, tell me something. How did the Uncle Louie variety show start about?
How did it start? Oh, God.
Yeah.
40,
2000,
50 years ago when I was born.
Yeah, 2011. Louie and I, well, up to that point, we've always done videos. We've always done sketch comedy. We've always started writing comedy back in high school when we met. So we did a bunch of public access stuff. We did a bunch of, different things. But about 2011, when Louie and I were just getting into Facebook, he was doing some stuff about broken English words of the day, and he was just kind of posting them on his page, and he would share it. And we would go out. He would come over here, and we would go out on a Friday or Saturday night. We'd go out and get a drink or whatever. And because we've always done videos, we thought, you know what? Let's put a voice behind the phrase so people can actually hear the expressions, the broken English expressions that Louie was impersonating. So
let me ask you a question. Do you remember your first word of the day?
It wasn't even a word. It was a word. So I remember that it's actually on YouTube. If you go to the Uncle Louie Variety Show YouTube channel, the actual first video that we ever did, I believe it was in 2011, is on there. And we set it up as like a 7-minute video. And at the end of the video, or right before the video ended, we would do the word of the day. And I don't remember what it was, but it's on there. So if anybody wants to go on there, take a look. And once we did that, we shared it. It got, our friends and family would share it and watch it and laugh. And it kind of just built from there. So 2011 was the first time that we came out with the Uncle Louie character.
Now, did you start a Facebook page right back then?
Oh God, no. We didn't start Facebook. We didn't start our own page until we got our first gig in Syracuse with Dolce Vita. So we didn't. We probably went on for probably almost 6 months to a year, just promoting it on our regular Facebooks, and then we got into once we had a live show, which Louie can talk about how that happened. Once we got the live show, then we thought, you know what, we might want to come up with a Facebook page, and that's how it started.
Lou, do you remember when you started the Facebook page? Right, I know it took quite a few years to get to where you are now. But what was it like the beginning when you did not have that kind of following?
It was just for friends and relatives. It's it. Friends and relatives in
Syracuse.
Syracuse, 200. We had 256. That's the number that we had. I have it in my head.
Yeah.
And so we were just doing that on and off. And then we had stopped. We did a couple of shows and we had stopped. It was getting a little stressful. And for a couple of months. And then I said, it's Halloween. I just got on one morning just before Dominic, bring Dominic to school. I did a little Halloween bit with my father, kids showing up at my father's house for Halloween. And then from that day on, right after I got done, it was ding, 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 ding. We went to like 5-something car. I think it was like 2 times more.
We doubled,
I said, okay.
We doubled what we had in the year. Yeah.
Yeah, we doubled what we had in a year in like a couple hours. So I was like, okay, here's a plan.
So then we just started going with that,
So, what did you think when that started happening? Like, what got into your head? I'm sure you were not thinking about touring or anything like that.
Absolutely not. Yeah, we just thought we had more people watching. It'll give us more excuse to keep doing it. That's realistically what it was. Just, oh, cool, people like it. Let's do more. That's it.
I think the thing was the videos to get out there to catch people, to figure out, just to make sure the comedy was out there to other people. Right. So what I started doing was I started figuring out we couldn't share from our page to another page. So our Facebook page, we couldn't share it to a group. We couldn't share it to anything. What I could do, I found out, was to share it to my personal page, join the group, and from my personal page, share our page stuff to them. So I joined 70 Italian pages across the world. And I just started sharing, and that's when it started to go. Boom.
Now you have to understand, Tony, back then, this wasn't a common thing. No one knew this. It was something that we kind of fell into because of what, like Louie said, we kind of figured out, so this is before Facebook Live had people on shows. There was nothing happening like that. Right. We're going back, oh my God, we're going back 7 years ago, where Facebook Live wasn't that format at all. So what we were doing, we were like one of the first to figure this kind of out. And it surprised us as much as it made us happy going, okay, now we know how to get in people's faces. We still have to put product out there, but now at least we know where to share it. Now, of course, Facebook caught on after years and years of other people doing it. And it's kind of tougher now, but it's realistically, that's what got us going.
Yeah, it's a lot tougher now because they clamp down on pretty much everything. Facebook, unless you're part or administrator on several groups and allowed to share at the same time, which some people do, which is fantastic. They're able to do that, and they can share things like this at the same time where everybody's talking. Then you got a wider audience, and you can start building a little faster. But people have to trust you first to make you administrator in their group. So, but we get enough right now. We're still climbing like crazy.
Well, the thing is this. I think I can summarize your comedic career in 4 different parts. The first part was Antonietta Vigliotti from La Dolce Vita Bistro.
Yep, number one.
Then the show that we did in Syracuse in 2015. Then Australia, and then the current the current tours and all that. The first show we did at Antonietta.
Let's talk about it. Antonietta Vigliotti. She is awesome. We were doing 10 minutes sketches.
Not even.
At Carlo's house, 5 to 10 minute sketches. And she called up. She started this whole thing. She called up and she said, do you want to do a show at my restaurant? Let's take 10 minutes and turn it into a couple of hours. Okay, sounds good. And that's how it kind of started molding itself. So
because we never obviously wrote for a live show. You know, obviously we were doing 7-minute episodes, so it took a lot, obviously, to come up with a 2-hour show. So that's when we got involved with other people, and give a shout out to Frank that used to do music for us and used to be involved. So that kind of grew. So yeah, that phase would be a really important phase to start us all up. But that was still local. That, you know, other people wouldn't know about that. So that was just the local scene that was kind of getting the buzz around town. So yeah, that helped. That got us into you, Tony. That got us involved with you.
But you know what's
Which now is just a nightmare.
absolutely. But the other thing, you know, that a lot of people don't know about you guys, you know, because it's called the Uncle Louie Variety Show, okay? And you think that Lou came up with that name? That was his idea.
Well, his parents did because his name was Lou. But the weird thing is when we turned on that camera that day, we had no idea what we were doing. Just like now. So we had nothing planned. We didn't know what we were going to say. All we know is Lou had a word of the day, and we wanted to do it. Obviously, he's been doing the broken English expressions throughout our whole lives. I mean, we've heard that, you know, but no one else has heard it outside of the family and friends. So we had no idea what we were going to name the show. If you actually look at it, I think the name of the show was the Como se llama show, or how do you do? I don't even know what the hell the name was. We had no name. So the only
It was
thing
it was the what do you do?
how you doing? I don't know what it was. So the only thing I could think of was I said, "Hey, I'd like you to introduce you to my uncle." And I at the time I was like, "No one's watching this." You know, it's like no big deal. I go, "My uncle Louie," because he was looking right at me, and that's the first thing I thought of. Make Lou into Louie, and that's it. That's, you know, I could have named him Uncle Dominic, Uncle Tony, but at that moment, Uncle Louie was in my head, and that's where it started. Yeah.
What's weird is that a lot of these older videos, I actually got to watch them before I met you.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't know this. How we came about in getting together was during one of my Bad Boys tour in Syracuse. We had a friend in common, and he says, you know, if you want an opening act, you should look into these famous guys in Syracuse with a massive following.
256 people.
But
maybe to him, that's a huge following. You never
correct.
know.
So that was a good show. You know, I mean, who do we had at that show? We had Mike Marino,
Which is still a dear friend of all of ours.
Frank Spadone,
which is doing shows with us.
Guido Grasso,
Dear
and
friend.
one more. Who do we have?
Wheels. No, not Wheels.
Yes, it was. It was Will Parisi. Correct.
Not when we opened though. Wheels was the second time you guys came.
I think it was.
Oh, you're right. It was Wheels. You're right. You're right.
Wheels.
Tony, back up a little bit from the thing. It's still cracking a little bit.
If I back up a little bit more, I'm gonna leave the room.
Yeah.
Well, Louie and I know how to take care of this.
It's not a bad thing for you guys.
Yeah.
So
You're right. Wheels was the closer.
Then we did the show in 2015, which was a great show with a lot of friends into it. And so that's phase 2. Phase 3, which I think was really important, was Australia. You know?
Absolutely.
And I know how excited the Carlo gets when he talks about Australia. Like his eyes lit up.
Let me tell you something, you jerk. And I'm trying to keep a good rapport with you right now. Let me tell you jerk. Being a year into what we were doing, and someone offering 2 guys that, since they were 14 years old, have been writing comedy, have been doing videos, have been doing tape recorders on that old-fashioned tape recorder. When we did this, and a year later, we're traveling to Australia. Guess what? I'm going to talk about it every chance we get, because there are people, God bless them, that have been in this industry forever that haven't been blessed to even play, across the seas and across the different continents. And we did it in the first year, which is so amazing of me and Louie doing this. And we had no clue, and Lou can get into this. We had no clue what we were doing, no clue at all. But we did it. That's why I talk about it, because it's such an unbelievable story.
It was the opportunity presented itself, and we took 100% advantage of it. There was no way in the world we were going to say no to that. Or if somebody told us, hey, we're going to send you to South Africa to go, we would go.
Okay.
We would go. Peru, Brazil, whatever. But you're talking about like the other, literally half the other side of the globe. And yeah, we were definitely taking advantage of that. And when we got off the plane here back in the United States, there was a big buzz about it, and we took advantage of it, and we started doing shows.
So, I think Australia was a very important step, even for us, to actually kickstart the shows. Because before then, we really didn't talk about a tour. We didn't talk about nothing. And that happens only after you got booked over there. That you say, you know what? If we go to Australia, might as well do stuff in the States and North America as well.
There was a lot of huge rave reviews from us in Australia, and those were our first 2 real shows that Carlo and I did together, just me and him. Yeah. So we had some rave reviews, and I'm going to say big shout outs to Silvana Laird, Gina Christina, Jeannie Christina, and everybody that's out there that supported us in Australia, because everybody played a part. Dominic, Connie, everybody played a part in helping us move in the direction that we got to. Kiki was there from the beginning. She was blowing us up. She's a huge part of why we're here.
Absolutely.
Hands down. She worked feverishly, constantly to push us out there, and she'll always be part of the Uncle Louie Variety Show, and that's it. So everybody that was part of this, got us to where we are right now.
And we'll never forget that. The thing that going back to Australia, it actually gave us it gave us like we were legitimate. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay, these guys are actually touring in different countries and continents. It gave us like this kind of a name that we never had before. Again, we were very new to the scene. Louie and I did our first, like he said, our first shows together as the duo that you see now on stage in Sydney, right? That was our first one, right, Louie? Sydney?
Yep.
Yeah. So, it brought us to another level where people went, wait a minute, if they're going there, if I have a chance to see him here, I'm going to take advantage of it. And I think that's what happened. The funny thing is, we actually came to America. America was our third country, right? We did Australia, and then we did Canada, and then we did the States. So
Leamington was the first North American city.
Yes, sir. Yep.
How did you guys feel when the first shows you did in North America? As a matter of fact, there was Leamington to start, and right after, the week after, I believe, was in White Plains, New York. How did you guys feel that the first shows of the tour already were sold out in a matter of weeks?
I'll let Louie go.
It was unbelievable. And when there's certain times where I get off the stage and I talk to Carlo, and I was like, I've got tears in my eyes right now. I can't even believe the crowd that's out there and the energy that this crowd. I'm going to give props to Rosa Gaudio out there. She says, I remember going to friends and family, getting together. Uncle Louie is always the conversation at the dinner table, Uncle Louie Variety Show. She was there before we went to Australia.
Yeah.
And she's seen it from like the beginning to the end. A lot of our people have done that, but it's an amazing. I can't tell you what kind of a rush And it almost makes, when we get off stage, Carlo and I are constantly nitpicking the whole show, making sure, because we want to make sure that they get their money's worth 100% and everything's perfect. So if we do something wrong, or we think we do something wrong, we'll talk about it. Do you think that was good? I don't like that, or we'll change it, or this and that, just to make sure that the crowd has a great time.
Yeah.
You guys are now done over 100 shows together.
Oh yeah. On
Yeah.
the first time, honestly, Tony, with your question, Australia didn't really hit us because it was such a surreal moment, flying over there, being in the surroundings, being around people that we do not know other than FaceTime. So being on stage was actually not as nervous as what led to that, traveling and leaving our family and starting this new venture. So that was by itself. When I went to Leamington, when we were in Leamington, and that was a sold out show, correct?
Correct. Actually sold out in,
West.
I want to say in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I would like to, with the Rick Mastronardi over there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So when that happened, that hit me more than Australia, because Australia was such a weird, surreal thing. But Canada, to say, oh my God, this is happening in Canada, and then 2.5 weeks it sells out. And then we went to, what was it, Westchester, you said?
White Plains, correct.
White Plains?
Where we had to add a second show.
We had
on the
two
same
shows.
day.
That was the first time I really realized, oh my God, we might be able to fulfill our lifetime dream of what we wanted to do. At that moment, even Australia didn't do that. But that moment, I thought, oh my God, we're doing exactly what we've been talking about since we were 14 years old. There's been times Louie and I have been sitting around going, wouldn't it be great if people could pay us to write comedy, to do shows? We would, as teenagers, we would say this to each other. So it really hit me then when we had to add shows, and the meet and greets, forget it. That blew our minds. That people.
And we call it, the more we call it the variety show, because first of all, we sing, we do our own original songs.
Yep.
But we also do a lot of different things on stage too. So we open it up to a variety of comedy where Carlo and I can express ourselves in a couple of different ways, and also introduce new characters.
Right.
That see us are insane right now. Everybody wants to see that see us.
Right.
So we're working on some sketches and some comedy with the Cias, bring up on stage. We have other characters in the works. So
we added the Zias to the Straight Out of the Basement, which we are currently obviously on hold right now, but we'll hopefully start up. But we had to add the Zias. Too many people were saying, guys, we want the Zias on stage. So Louie and I turned it up. We wrote something small. Fortunately for us, the chicken dance, which we want to thank the millions of people, the Italian chicken dance.
Chicken dance.
That got so popular that we could, we were able to kind of have fun with it. So, people are just excited to have that whole variety show format come back,
I want to ask you guys separately this question. Since the coronavirus, obviously, the whole world is in a standstill. And I know all the negativity that came with it, especially in our industry. Shows get canceled, fans that to lose out on seeing their favorite comedians and musicians, right, and all that. I don't want to focus on the negativity. There's already enough of it. What I want to ask you guys, we'll start with Carlo. What's the 2 or 3 positive things that came out of you being home?
Well, honestly, one of the biggest positive thing is in this industry, especially at our age, you're always questioning, are we doing the right thing? Am I in a business at my age, and I'm 51, that's smart? Is this going to be something that I can have for, the longevity of my lifetime? And it made me realize absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, that this is what we're supposed to be doing, or at least I am. I miss it every day. So it shined a light on what we're doing, and all these other questions I had before. is this a crazy dream we're following? Is this something that, if I lose, would I even care? And absolutely, I would be heartbroken. It's everything that I dream about. It's everything that I want. It's everything that inspires me to be on stage, to make people laugh, to make them cry, to make them think. So that made me, that came out of that. It's cemented that I'm doing the right thing, and I won't question that again. Another thing, obviously, spending time with my family. My boys are home from school. I become, a stay-at-home dad and a teacher at the same time. Luckily, they're smarter than I am, so they ask me no questions at all about school. But it gives us a lot of time to spend together. And the third thing, it kept us being creative. We're always thinking about newer things to do. We're doing videos, we're doing podcasts, we're doing different people's podcasts. We're on, we're meeting new comedians, new people that we haven't talked to before because of the Skype. So that's a positive thing. We've made our friendships with other people very wide now. So yeah, that's what I've got out of it.
How about you, Lou?
Snacks? No. No, I'm
Snacks
actually, the thing is,
that's funny.
It really makes you contemplate the things in life that really matter. When you're at a place, when you're like this and you can basically, you can do nothing, or you can, till you're talking to your family on the phone, you're talking to your kids, it kind of puts everything into perspective on what really matters in your life. And you pray for everybody else, and you pray for people who are, these poor people are in the hospital. I don't want to get into that, but the positive things that are going on is we're writing, we're getting more creative, we're putting pen to paper, and it shows us how much we miss being on stage and performing for people, making people laugh. So that's what we do the videos for, is to put a little joy in this time of garbage with the coronavirus going on. So yeah, it just puts a lot of things in perspective for me, and hopefully this life, you'll see a lot of percentage of people going back to visiting their parents more often, calling their family more often, and just seeing life in a different way. So this has changed a lot of people, definitely me.
The other thing that I want to emphasize, that you guys are a little bit different than most comedians, because you guys are not, there is stand up in the show, but the 2 hours, you guys put more than an hour. A normal comedian puts about 50 minutes to about an hour and 10 minutes. Okay. But you guys put 2 hour show, which
or longer sometimes, as you know.
Longer, which stand up, it's important part of it, but it's timing wise, it's only a few minutes. I want to say between 10 minutes each, 10 to 15 minutes each.
If that, right.
So you have a 2 hour show. Between there's music, stand up, sketches. Starting with Carlo, which out of the 2 hours, what's your favorite part of the show?
Oh, without a doubt, working with Lou, when our timing, the working off each other, that's why I do this. We've done this forever, trying to make each other laugh, trying to keep it straight, making people. I love when because this is not easy. I know. Hopefully, we make it look easy, and people tell us, "Oh my God, what you guys do up there, you guys do it, and it looks flawless. You guys don't smile, you don't laugh, you stay in character." Sometimes we get out of it, but that's okay. But honestly, without a doubt, I always say that to Lou. It's me and him. The way we bounce off each other, I love it. I absolutely love that part. I would, if I had to just be a stand-up comedian, that wouldn't. To me, that's not enough. That's not enough. I would need that interaction. That's what makes us different. That's what makes what we do so different from anybody else. And they tell us, even stand-up comedians say, the timing that you guys have to have is so hard. So that's what I enjoy.
About you, Lou?
Yeah, it's. Having the stand up. Carlo knows when we've talked about it. Having the stand up and being up there and doing your stand up and having it kill, and it's a great feeling to maybe because you're by yourself first of all, but having somebody there to kind of carry the load, if you say, So when we do sketches together, and when we're doing that timing, whether it's me as me and him as Pasqualino, or me as Uncle Louie and him as Carlo, whatever it is, that timing is there. And there's nothing better than the act. I love the acting that we have to put together when we're doing that, because now you got to rely on that other person. That's why it's so hard when you have when comedians that do stand up, and that's the reason why it's so hard. They don't have somebody else. You got to trust that person, that wherever they're going, they got to bring it back around, and that they're going to be able to interact with you. With that timing has to be perfect. That's why there's so many. That's why there's not that many comedy duos. You don't see that connection. So
absolutely, Lou.
Now we know that in the Uncle Louie variety show, the character of Uncle Louie is inspired by your father and your Uncle Lou, right? And Carlo Pasqualino, your character, who was inspired by?
Honestly, the thought was a thought that Lou had by looking at an object and thought, wouldn't this be funny? A short character, like a father character or uncle character.
Can I say the story, Carl?
What's that?
Can I tell them the story when I called you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I actually told I was in my living room. I'm watching TV and I heard something fall. I was like, maybe something falls in the kitchen, and I looked over and I see the countertop, and all I pictured was I saw the spoon was sticking out. All I pictured was a head, like just a half of a head, like a person that short, and the spoon. And I went, holy! And then I called Carlo right away. I said, "What about this?" And then he evolved the character into who he is.
So when that, if you look at that video that Louie's speaking about, the Pasqualino character was totally different. He was more of a non-Italian, non-English speaking, like father. He spoke Italian in the video. He started hitting Lou and stuff. And I thought, okay, we can go that route. But as it went along, the character looked so silly, and I'm a big fan of slapstick comedy. Jerry Lewis, John Ritter, Chevy Chase on Saturday Night Live falling, and I love that stuff. And I thought,
my next question.
I want to fall in. I want to make this character because he looks so funny. I want him to be kind of like out there. Uncle Louie's character is so real. People can say, "Oh my God, that's my father. That's my uncle. That's my whatever. That's my husband." And I didn't want to do the same character because you don't want to just copy off another thing. So I wanted to make this character real enough, but at the same time, he can get away with a lot more stupid, unreal stuff. So I kind of combined my father in a little way with in certain things, being colorblind and not hearing, even though he says he hears fine, and not be able to see, even though he says he sees fine. So all these little quirky things, and then made up some slapstick stuff with, that in mind with Jerry Lewis and stuff like that, which is one of my favorites. So he's real at the same time made up.
So now, Lou, let me ask you a question. Growing up, I'm not necessarily who influenced you the most, but who was your favorite comedian growing up?
Don Rickles.
What did you love about him?
Here's what I loved. Don Rickles, Benny Hill, all of those old school guys, the Rat Pack, those guys, just because they can make you laugh with a facial expression. They can grab the crowd with just a face. You didn't have to say a word.
Nonverbal.
And then they have the crowd. And they were hilarious. The way they did things, the mannerisms, the that's where, I try to push the Uncle Louie, how he moves his hands, how we act on stage as Carlo and as Lou ourselves, how we act on stage, the facial expressions, everything. Those guys were, to me, hands down the greatest, especially Don Rickles, who did nothing, just went up on stage. He never wrote anything. Another one was Rodney Dangerfield. Look at Rodney Dangerfield's face. I mean, just when he did, just the face would kill you. He'd hit the joke and then the face.
See, I love George Carlin, for example, was one of my favorites. Definitely my top three. How about you, Carlo?
The thinking man's mine. Mine, honestly, it's so weird because it obviously goes full circle to what I do now with Lou. I grew up, again, I immigrated to America in '72, so learning English was very important with the television. I learned a lot of English watching TV. So I used to sit down and watch Abbott and Costello, which we absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. So it makes sense. And the variety shows. Back in the 70s, variety shows were so important, with Sonny and Cher and Donnie and Marie and Carol Burnett. I fell in love with that. So obviously it makes sense for what I'm doing now, being part of a variety show in a duel. So my favorites have to be, like I said, Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin, Abbott and Costello. As I got older, Mighty Pythons was a funny ass thing, and also, like Lou said, Benny Hill, just funny stuff like that. But a comedian, stand-up comedian, I honestly, when I saw and watched Richard Pryor, I thought, man, he's doing something that I've never seen before. How he takes stories and he just makes them into these huge comedy sketches, and you can visualize what he's saying. That really changed the game for me as a stand-up who I follow. But Abbott and Costello, Three Stooges, all that stuff, that was what I grew up with.
It's hard to do that, to name your top three comedians when you're a fan of comedy, because there's so much out there.
There's so many
like
people,
for me, I grew up on the, that's why we called it the variety show, because Carol Burnett I watched religiously. The Dean Martin show was like all the time. The celebrity roasts, not the celebrity roasts now they're okay, but
they're nasty now.
It is what it is. Those guys, like I said, they get on the dais and just make a face, make you laugh. And then, you got like laughing. The Monty Python, they started everything with sketch comedy. SCTV back in the old days, all that stuff. That's our freaking, where we come from. And like, man, if we can bring that back in a modern way,
right,
good to go.
So after the Facoffee tour,
Live, don't forget with Jean Belushi and all that. To me, that was sketch comedy at the height.
After the Facoffee tour, you started your second tour. As a matter of fact, look at this. I missed this. The Straight Out of the Basement.
Yeah, he's got the shirt on, I believe.
And how did it come about? Because obviously, I know you guys love Abbott and Costello. How did you guys decide to pay a tribute to during the show with the Who's a Striker?
I'll start it, Luke, and finish it. A lot of people, till this day, always compare to us, and we take it as a compliment to the highest. They always say, you guys are the modern Abbott and Costello. You ever think about doing who's on first? And we don't want to touch that, obviously. So that's how we started thinking about it, because people have always said we remind them of the current Abbott and Costello. And then I'll have Lou finish that up. Lou?
Yeah, I was working on this. No, you're saying how we came up with it, how we...
Why did we do it? I said we love the people.
There was a lot of people had wanted it. And I thought about it and I said, you know what, that's something that we can definitely do. It's the same type of dynamic between the two. So we decided, let's try it. Remember that car? And we looked at it and we're like, holy crap. These guys are just so, I mean, they're legends. This is why they're legends. So we decided, all right, this is it. Let's take it on. But it has to be a certain amount of time. We can't because our show is we have to do a lot of different things. So we took a portion of it, we made it right, and that was rough.
We spent a lot of time.
It was
It's all timing.
It's all timing and words. So
now
it's fun.
Now, hopefully, the tour will start back up by the end of July, and to actually move more towards fall, winter in 2021. A lot of the shows. As a matter of fact, I was reading some of the comments of people that bought tickets and they can't wait to see us. Either later this year or next year.
Right.
We thank God we had a lot of shows scheduled towards the end of the year where we didn't have to move, at least up to this point. We got Cleveland, we got Chicago, a lot of other cities. But you guys traveled to probably 60 different cities so far. I'm not saying your favorite because it's not fair because everything
They're
is
all our favorites, right?
But can you guys relate to like a special moment to one of the cities? Like something that struck you and say, what, this happened in Boston or this happened.
There's a lot of things that struck me in each city. It's more we're a blooper reel. We are exactly the same shit you see on stage in normal, and it's mostly me. I run into plants. I get crushed by elevator. It's just a never-ending thing.
Yeah. Louie, probably Yonkers.
I smashed my head into a glass door. I thought it was clear. I walked through it and I banged my head. I think I was concussed for the second half. I mean, it was just stupid shit that happens, but that's part of the game. It makes us laugh. But I don't know if it's something. There's always the anticipation. I don't know, Carlo. You tell me too. I mean, when we get right on stage from the beginning, and the crowd is just boom, and the energy just hits you like it's the most incredible feeling. And I think, you can't. And I think the first time it happened to us, I mean, of course, we had, Australia, but the real first time was weird. I'll tell you this story. We're in Long Island. We're at the Tillis Center. We're on the side. We're ready to get on. We don't know. We've never been to Long Island. It was our first show there. And there's a shopping cart, and Carlo goes, dude. And he looks down at the shopping cart and goes, hey. I go, I know exactly what you're thinking. I know it. Okay, let's do it. We didn't even talk. He goes on stage. Crowd goes nuts. And he goes, Uncle Louie. And I bring the shopping cart out like I'm thinking I'm supposed to go shopping, and I end up in a friggin' theater. The crowd goes crazy. That was our first, boom. Holy shit. It was amazing.
For me, I think the first place we were, Louis, you might know the play. It might have been where was that one you said? Not Westchester. What was that?
That was the Tillis Center.
No.
White Plains.
White Plains. I believe White Plains was our first standing O. Was that, or was it Leamington? That one that we had that standing O, and we were both crying on stage. We're like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, that was one of the first. Show. That was one of the first shows.
One of the first shows. We were we're sitting there because we didn't understand. We didn't know what they were gonna. We had no idea how people were gonna react to this. It's
a wonderful feeling when you put all your effort and everything into something, and people stand up and go, "That was freaking awesome." Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, every city has a different thought. When we go to Florida, the cities, because we're in Florida and the weather's better, we might have a nice feeling about that. When we're in Boston and we're going down to the bakeries and what's it called, the North End or whatever it's called,
Yeah,
and
and
all these people are opening up their restaurants for us. And every city has its own. We fall in love with each city for whatever reason of that moment. Cleveland, when we like going to places a little early, maybe a day early if we can, because we want to enjoy the city. We want to. So yeah, every city has its own thing. But I'll tell you, that first feeling of everybody getting up and they really enjoy themselves. I will never forget that feeling, man.
And let's give a shout out to Brantford, Connecticut. It's sold out like something fierce.
Yeah.
And those were our last shows, and it was in the midst of getting started with all the bullshit.
Oh, I know. That was
Corona,
crazy.
and everybody still had a great time, and I can't wait to go back there, and really, it's a tough time. It's a tough time.
I think one of the craziest moments of you guys doing the live show was when this is a White Plains. Lou changes from Uncle Louie to Lou Greco, and a lot of people did not realize Uncle Louie was not an old man. I mean, you do look pretty old, but not to that degree.
Yeah, it was very interesting when you hear, "Who the hell is that?" from the crowd.
They were mad.
And the same thing happened in Utica with Pasqualino. They thought it was a different character. It was not Carlo. I mean, I find it crazy, but and these are people that follow the show.
If I can add to that, that's someone that we knew in Utica.
Right.
That's the scarier part. Because when Louie told me that, I'm like, get out of here. And he goes, oh, yeah, she didn't even know it was you. So that tells us how I don't want to say how good, but that, we like to present when we do our characters like they're real people. So I guess we're doing our job when people don't believe that it's us. So we take that as a compliment.
Out of this whole thing, it's the greatest thing in the world to be able to meet people after the show and talk to them like real people. But I mean, the weirdest thing to me is when somebody says, we were hanging out with you, and you're like normal. Yeah, we're real people. This is who we are. We'll always be like this. There's no, I can't. We stay until everybody's gone. We used to give hugs and kisses. I don't know how that's going to work this time.
I'm gonna say to me right now, hugs and kisses might be a while away.
it's going to be tough, and I think that's just to protect both, because we're traveling all over the place. We don't want to go into a city and we got to figure this thing out, this Corona shit. So, but we'll figure that out. But that's the greatest feeling in the world, to be able to meet people one-on-one and have them understand that we're the same people on stage. You meet us off stage, we're the same people, and we care about all our fans, because those are the people that, they're the ones that got us here. They're the ones that share all of our stuff. They watch us on YouTube. They watch us. They share. And once they get to know us, they understand that, hey, we're real people too. We're just, that's the best part of doing the whole thing.
If I can add something, this is more to do with us being so amazed that people are, reacting that way. We love it because we're surprised ourselves. Like I said, we've been dreaming of this since we were 14 years old. So trust us, we love that part. We love to see everybody being excited. We love having a people that want to watch us and know what we're doing. And so to us, it's we want to thank you guys. We want to thank you guys. Usually on the meet and greets, you guys are thanking us, or you guys. We want to thank you, because we say that all the time. Without you guys, we would still be in the basement making videos to no one.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's why we enjoy our meet and greets, because we want to thank you guys.
Yeah. Some people want to say, is that you guys find it hard to stay humble? No, not at all.
Nah.
It's not hard to stay humble. If you want to be a dick, you can be a dick. You know, it's not hard to stay humble.
Right.
It's how you were raised. It's how we were raised. You know, we're humble because that's the people we are. When we go on stage, we perform for you, you know, not for us. We perform for you.
Yep.
Of course,
We know-
we got to eat,
Yeah.
but
Right.
we do
Yeah, it's a
perform for you,
job.
and we
It's
try,
like
and we
anybody's
work
job.
hard at it. So, you know, it's not hard to stay humble. You know, like I said, and that's how we were raised.
You know, you guys have a different relationship, I think, with different cities and different theaters. Because sometimes we might gone to the same city in multiple venues and all that.
Right.
But what I found, and this is not because this is where I live, but the relationship that you guys had with Rochester.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Over 20 shows.
20 shows in a year and a half,
That's
you know,
unprecedented. I mean,
and most of them sold out.
we obviously we have a
Yeah.
connection with you in Rochester, and us being only in Syracuse, not that far. So it feels very at home. We obviously made some kind of connection with the people of Rochester that taken us in, the restaurants, the bakeries, the families. We want to thank Rochester and everybody that gets involved, Downstairs Cabaret, all the people that make it happen. Rochester is very near and dear to our heart. That's why we will always play Rochester. Even if Louie and I are busy doing something, we'll always find time to sneak a Rochester show in there because they just make us feel at home.
Yeah, and you know, our hometown we do once a year. And it's funny, it was like people are like, well, why in Rochester you got 20
Right.
and you're only once a year? Our hometown we pull off something really special in our hometown. So, you know,
It's a
you
big
know,
show.
it's a big show in our hometown show. Last year we performed, it was over 400 people. And this year we're thinking of almost doubling that. And then now, you know, more than likely we have to push it. But that's what we're looking at, 700-800 people in our hometown. And you know, we always do it something special in Syracuse because the people deserve it. I mean, shit, it's still snowing here. It's still snowing here.
So
Syracuse deserves it.
one of the things that a lot of people, well, obviously, you've seen your live. You guys have a lot of important opening acts throughout the last couple of years. You had people from The Voice. You had other comedians like Frank Spadon, which is a god down in Canada.
It's
And so, are you guys? I'll ask Carlo first. As an opener, do you enjoy more of a comedic opener or a music opener, or does it matter? What's your take on it?
Well, honestly, the idea of Louie and I having anyone that opens for us is just freaking mind blowing and surreal that people are actually opening for us. So that once you get out of that kind of ridiculous thought process, but it doesn't matter to us. I think because we are a variety show, we can get away with a singer, we can get away with magic, we can get away with stand up, being an opener, because people are already there with open minds for all of these in betweens that could happen. So generally, if you go to a music place, if you go to see a rock band or whatever, a band, and a stand-up comedian opens, that's probably going to be tough. But in our case, because we're a variety show, I think anything goes. I love the idea of being around those guys. We have such a great time with them. We have a nice little family that we built up, like you said, Austin, Georgia from The Voice, and Sam Vaccaro, who's a great singer. And then comedians. All these, like, and it makes it, you know what? And we treat them. Trust me, we love these guys. They hang out with us. They help us as much as we help them. So we're all into it.
You know, and my other, I'm gonna, you guys have been friends forever, besides being comedic duo partners.
So you got to stay away from the microphone. It's really buzzing.
I'll ask Carlo first. What one thing you like about Lou? I know it's a difficult question, but please answer. That's one thing you like about Lou, and then vice versa. If you have to say something,
he's my brother. I mean, I've known him.
One trait that you like about him.
Huh? One trait?
If you have to pick one trait.
He's loyal. I mean, I've had issues in my life that I've had to call him, and I know that without question he's gonna help me out. And that's, if you don't have loyalty, I hope I'm the same with him. But if you have loyalty of trusting someone with your deepest, darkest secrets and thoughts, and I've been through so many things in my life that you need that person that you can call and say, hey, there's no judgment, there's no nothing. Yeah, it's you can't start a business with the worst thing you can honestly, to start a business with a friend is so tough, so you have to be more than that. You have to have some kind of basis of your relationship. And if you don't have loyalty behind it, because you're dealing with money and you're dealing with, people's feelings and this and that you need to have that. So that's the number one trait that I would want from a best friend, from a brother, from whatever, I think of him as all that inclusive. So that's my trait.
And same question for you, Lou. One thing you like about Carl.
His shoes. He's got really nice shoes.
You're right, Lou. You do like my shoes, dude.
No, it's it's the same thing. We can count on each other. When it comes, everything that he had said, we can count on each other for that. But the one thing, business-wise, when we're talking about the comedy show, we're on the same page. Right when no matter who comes up with an idea, if I say, hey, what about this? And all of a sudden, both of us, the gears start turning, and then we could do this, and then what about all of a sudden we mold this into a freaking video, and then we're ready to shoot. You know how hard that is to find in somebody, to be able to make an idea and have somebody on the same level and make it even better as we go down the line. So, that's a thing where you don't have. That's why there's not that many comedy duos. They don't exist like that.
And
Tony, 36 years. 36 years. Think about that. 36 years.
Yeah, I know. I already known you guys for about 6, and I find it hard already to like you now.
Yeah, well,
6.
No,
you're like a mold, Tony. You're like a mold that's growing on my arm somewhere. I can't reach it to cut it off.
You're one of those diseases. You're one of those diseases that the doctor says, "Hey, you have this disease. You can't die from it, but you're not going to be cured. It's always going to be with you. You won't die, but you're going to have this disease."
It just feels like a little needle in your ass.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's you, our diseased friend.
Yeah, we're right at the end. This hour actually flew by. We have 1 minute left. I'm going to leave you the last words for you guys.
Yeah.
I know that we've been having a lot of messages, a lot of fans that wanted to say hello, people that wish us well, people that can't wait for you guys to go back on the road. Just give them a message of what can they expect from you guys once we start touring again. When we start touring again, and we'll say goodbye.
Louie, do you want me to start?
Bigger, better, funnier. Boom. We are going to there's so much more we need to put into these shows, and we're going to do that. And now we have so much pent up shit. We're going to hit the stage like gangbusters. So we can't wait to see. So we love you guys. We love all of our fans, because without them, we'd be nothing. So God bless you guys. Mwah.
And right, bigger, better, funnier, like you said. But at the same time, I think the respect that we've already had for what we do is so much more now because it was taken away. That when we go up there, we're going to cherish every single second of what we do. And with that, it's going to make us be better, be funnier. And I think all that will work together and will give you guys a 100% experience that you can go home and say, you know what? I cannot wait when they come again. And that's our goal. That's our goal, is to make you guys feel like you just, every penny you spent. And I know it's hard nowadays because money is tough. And I know we think about that. And that's why Louie and I and Tony and everybody involved, we always want to give people more than what they expected.
And let's give a big shout out. We never said anything. A big shout out to Canada. Canada's been amazing for us. God bless you guys
They
in
say
Canada.
Australia,
Never thought, Carlo, would you have thought how big we are in Canada is amazing to us. So God bless you. We're definitely coming.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me today in this new talk show adventure. I don't even know what to call it, but I really appreciate you guys.
Can I say this, though? Can I say this?
Sure.
On your new adventure? Get a microphone or a computer.
It's
please.
coming on.
I'm just saying. you freaking little disease.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you everybody that followed the show, and can't wait to go back on tour with you guys. Okay.
Hey, Tony.
Bye,
great interview.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Later.